That Wrestling Guy back. Sorry that I'm late. Life in the Wrestling Guy world got a little out of hand for a couple of days, but it's all cool. I'm back, and I'm here to do a 3-day, probably by now, late review of the Monday Night Raw after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I put up the video with Oda Kun doing the joint review of Money in the Bank. It was a very good show. Very good, and now Raw obviously is predicated on the fallout of CM Punk winning the WWE Championship and leaving the company. So, oh, and I should point this out because I didn't say it in the video last night. John Laurinaitis got decked in the face, legit, by John Cena in the main event match, Money in the Bank. That is an awesome thing. I hate that tall fucker. Not because he's tall, but for a whole host of reasons. Anyway, so Vince McMahon comes out and says that no one man is bigger than the WWE. Not Hulk Hogan, not Stone Cold Steve Austin, not Warrior, Savage, Triple H, you name it. No one is bigger than the WWE, and that's foreshadowing for later. Anyway, he says that he's going to announce an 8-man tournament, single elimination tournament, to crown a new WWE champion. And that's going to be the focus of the entire show. So, after he does this, the first match of the evening happens, and it's The Miz, who to me should be the champion anyway, in a first-round match against Alex Riley. And the match is pretty good. They don't have a lot of time because they have a lot of matches to get to, but for what it was okay. I don't particularly like Alex Riley. He's boring and slow. And, The Miz finally beats him, which was nice too, after losing to him twice. I'm just saying. Anyway, he beat him with the Skull Crusher finale. So, there we are. The Miz wins and advances into the semifinals. Again, if you're wondering why I'm looking here, I'm looking at what I wrote and remembering from there, because it's been 3 days. I know I should have put it up earlier, but anyway. After that is another quarterfinal between R-Truth and Jack Swagger. This match was really kind of short. I mean, I like R-Truth's new heel character. The little Jimmy thing is great, and you got a little Jimmy chant during the match, which was good too. And he won. He countered a ankle lock into a roll-up and pinned Jack Swagger to win. And I think the right man went over. I mean, Jack Swagger's an okay wrestler, but he doesn't really project a lot of charisma, and I don't think it's time for him to be champion anyway. So there. Oh, and I just want to mention this as a side note. Every person from Money in the Bank who is in the Money in the Bank ladder match is in this single elimination tournament, except for Evan Bourne. So I don't know who he pissed off not to be in the tournament, but instead Dolph Ziggler's in the tournament. So I just thought that was kind of weird. I mean, Dolph Ziggler wasn't even at the pay-per-view last night at all, I don't think. And he's already the United States champion, so yeah, go figure. Anyway, after that is yet another quarterfinal match, Alberto Del Rio versus Kofi Kingston. Now, I was watching this match, something occurred to me. They're using this tournament to crown a new champion, right? So, if Alberto Del Rio wins the tournament, can he cash in the Money in the Bank on himself? Like, did anyone think... Like, why would he... The only thing that I could think of is if he wins the tournament and then uses Money in the Bank to cash in on the SmackDown champion. Which, apparently now you can't. Apparently the briefcases are color-coded, so if he uses his red M&M briefcase on the blue M&M title, they don't meld. So anyway, Kofi Kingston wins. He gets a roll-up on Del Rio to put him out of the tournament because, again, he doesn't need it. He's already got a guaranteed title shot for winning Money in the Bank. So he will be champion, it's just a question of when. So, that was a good little match. Got a little more time, actually. I think an extra 30 seconds or so. Afterwards, Kofi gives a promo, being all fired up about how he's going to win the tournament and become the new WWE champion. And, you know, I wouldn't be against the idea. I like him as the plucky babyface. He reminds me of a young Bret Hart trying to claw his way up the ranks. My 2 cents. Anyway, after that, you have Rey Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler in a quarterfinal match. In the last quarterfinal match. Again, I'll say that there's no reason for Dolph Ziggler to be in this. Luckily for me, he loses. Rey hits the 619 in the second try, and then top rope splash pins him, and he's out. So, I like that. Oh, I should also note that Vince McMahon quoted CM Punk as the former champion as well. I guess he stripped him of the WWE title, so his title reign lasted a day. But I don't think that's the end of that storyline anyway, so that's neither here nor there. Oh, okay. You know, every time I do one of these reviews, I'm really afraid I'm going to get called a sexist, because next is the women, and it's not even that I don't like women's wrestling, I do. But the problem is a lot of the women they have now are not wrestlers, they're just models. They have very, very minimal training and don't really know what they're doing. Injuries are quite common, and they're just not very good. The division hasn't been the same since Trish Stratus, Lita, and the like. I mean, I like Beth Phoenix, but she never gets any one-on-one matches, and Karma was doing good until she got pregnant and had to leave, so... I mean, does anybody really care who was in this 14-diva match? I mean, it only lasted a minute and change. Who the hell cares? They're not advancing any angles, and then most of these divas won't even get seen again next week, so why bother? It doesn't mean anything. Anyway, now we get back to the show, I guess, as it were. We have the first semifinal, Kofi Kingston versus The Miz. This match was really kind of short. Kofi won, getting the snake eyes, and then hits the skull-crushing finale. And he's actually bleeding from his mouth, and I'm surprised they didn't just cue the towel guys and run down and, you know, wipe him up. But they didn't. The match was okay, but short. Very short. But the right guy won, in my opinion. I mean, I like Kofi Kingston, but The Miz, I think, with the character and how hard he had to work, that package at WrestleMania, The Miz sold me on him being champion. He works hard, and he's good at what he does. So, why not? After that, we get the promo with R-Truth saying the conspiracy and little Jimmy's all over the world and all of that, and how he's being held down. Oh, and then after we get the video on Big Andy, and if you don't know who Big Andy is, he's the guy who won Tough Enough this year. What's Tough Enough? This is a stupid-ass show they had in 2001 that had bad ratings, and every person who won it went on to be fired in less than a year. The two most successful people from Tough Enough are Mike Mizanin, better known as The Miz, and John Morrison, who lost Tough Enough, both of them. I think one of them was out in the first elimination or second, and they're the most successful ones, the ones they didn't think should even win Tough Enough. So I don't like Tough Enough. I don't watch Tough Enough. I don't even know if it airs in Canada, but Big Andy actually has to wrestle. For the last 3 weeks, we've just seen little clips and vignettes of him. It doesn't mean anything because he's never on Raw, he's never having matches, there's no way for him to build his legacy. So he has to get in the ring and wrestle. And I think the reason they're not doing that is because they don't think he can. Anyway. Then after that we have the other semi-final between R-Truth and Rey Mysterio. This was a good match. They actually gave it a little bit of time. If you're sensing a problem with the way I'm reviewing this, is because there's so many matches so close together, and since they weren't very long, there's not a whole lot I can say about them. I mean, they were good. I love tournaments, that's the thing. I'm a huge mark for tournaments. So, as soon as I heard 8-man tournament, I was on board. So, anyway, Rey won, hitting the 619 and a top rope splash. Truth be told, there was a lot of laying around in the middle portions of the match with them selling the moves and all that. It kind of hurt the match a bit, but overall it was okay. Personally, I would have put Truth over, but Rey is popular, so I guess it's okay. And now we get to the... Okay. A lot of people seem to have liked this last part of the show. I didn't, and I'll tell you why. Vince McMahon, Rey Mysterio is already in the ring, and he's awaiting The Miz for the finals to crown the new champion. But Vince McMahon comes out in that stupid-looking pink jacket of his. And at one point, I think Vince actually said WWF champion, so that's gonna stick with people for a long time, I guess. I'm sure those Panda people love that. Anyway. Apparently he tells Rey that he needs to do something that's more important than the WWE title and more important than the crowning of the new champion, which is the basis for the entire show. So now the match between The Miz and Rey Mysterio to crown the new champion is next week. Instead, he has to do this thing about firing John Cena because he didn't win. And he told him that if he didn't win the match, he'd be fired. So out comes John Cena. Basically, Cena is saying that he's not gonna let Vince fire him and make the Montreal Screwjob all over again, and then him having to shoulder that burden for the rest of his career. So basically he's saying that he wanted to keep his old world intact, and they were afraid CM Punk would burst his bubble and all that. And Cena does tell Punk that it was a great match, and it was. One of the best matches I've seen in a long time. The reason Cena stopped Vince McMahon from awarding him the title by unfair means is because then the title wouldn't mean anything, which I can respect. Basically, one thing I should mention, Cena says that if Vince does fire him, he's going to do this because this is what he loves, and he's going to do it where he's going to go where no one wants him to go. Brother. Obviously a shot at TNA and Hulk Hogan. And if you want to know what I think about TNA, watch my TNA Impact review. That'll pretty much tell you all you need to know. Anyway, after that, Triple H comes out in his battle suit. I believe his corporate tie and matching wingtip shoes are sold separately for battle armor. Anyway, he looks stupid in the suit. A big muscle-bound guy in a suit. It just doesn't look right. Anyway, Triple H comes out and tells him twice that what he wants to tell him should be said in private and not publicly. But Vince won't hear that. He figures he can tell him anything he wants because he's the chairman and he's the boss and it's his company. Well, Triple H tells him that he had a meeting with the board of directors and they voted a no confidence on Vince McMahon and he's being relieved of his duties. So the whole thing about no one being bigger than the WWE actually even includes Vince McMahon. Where do I start with this? If anyone who can hear my voice is listening to this and actually believes that Vince McMahon is now fired or relieved of his duties from the WWE, there are so many bridges I could tell you that I would never have to work. The problem with this is they're basically trying to set it up so that Vince McMahon went one step too far with all of his crazy things that he does, and now the board won't handle it anymore, and now Triple H is in charge of the day-to-day activities of the WWE. So he's going to be the new corporate dude in the suit stopping the baby faces and all that. The problem with this is it doesn't advance the storyline about the title. Why would the board of directors want to wait to crown a new champion? If the championship is so important and having a champion is so important, why would they wait another week to crown one? Wouldn't it make more sense to crown one now and do this the following week? And if they don't like his decisions, why agree to the tournament in the first place? It was his idea. So, anyway, it was just, the ending was stupid. I didn't like, they both tried to cry, and Vince actually did, but Triple H didn't. It looked bad. Stupid. Anyway, the show ends with Vince McMahon getting a thank you Vince chant, you know, and like I said, he'll be on the show next week, and he'll be on the show sometime. He's not going anywhere. This is his life. This is what he does, and they're going to have to pry it out of his cold, dead hands. That's when you'll finally never see Vince McMahon. A lot of people are saying this is the end of the Mr. McMahon character, but I'm not even sure I believe that, because I don't even think Vince knows where Mr. McMahon ends and Vince McMahon begins. So, I mean, a year ago he said he was never going to be on WWE TV ever again. So, there you go. Anyway, guys, that's my review of Raw from July 18th, 2011. It was a good show, but the ending killed it dead. I'll be excited to see next week's Raw, and I hope The Miz becomes the new WWE Champion, and hopefully they can give him a different belt. That spinner belt's gotta go. It's had to go for a while. It's a stupid design, and I know they were trying to appeal to the hip-hop audience, but I don't even think they cared, to be honest with you. Anyway, guys, that's my review of Raw. Until next time, snap into it, guys.